what they had so that we can better use that here and not have to repeat mistakes maybe that were made somewhere else, but also to be able to showcase what we're doing here, the great work that the men and women of the organization, the relationships that we have, and the great collaboration that we have here in Los Angeles County that makes this so special. Miguel, thank you for opening up your beautiful facility to us. I greatly appreciate that. And to my friends and partners, Supervisor Hilda Solis, thank you. Mayors Tim Sandoval and Don Kendrick, thank you very much for hosting this today. It means a lot to me. When I look at where we are today as it relates to the Sheriff's Department, came into an organization 4 years ago after having spent a year sitting on the Citizens Commission on Jail Violence, looking at what was going on in our jail system. And honestly, I thought, well, I'm not going to learn anything. I grew up next to the Sheriff's Department. I'll do it as a favor and look out for the interests of the deputies in public safety. But I didn't think that there was anything going to be earth-shattering to me, and I was wrong. When I sat on that commission and heard over and over again accounts from inmates, from deputies, from custody assistants, chaplains, lawyers, nurses, doctors, over and over again recurring themes of brutality, of corruption, of pay to play. And I was embarrassed by that, not only for the Sheriff's Department, but for all of us in the profession and all of us in the County of Los Angeles. And so we put together a report with 63 recommendations for change. And my hope was that in the following year that would get traction and move forward. But in that following year then, what we saw were 20 plus deputies indicted and subsequently many of them convicted for a variety of different charges, and an organization that was in turmoil at the time. So I was approached and, hey, would you consider running for sheriff? And honestly, it was never something that I had ever entertained at all. When you wore blue, you never really wore tan and green. It was not a career path that went that way. But you never know what your future holds for you. And I felt that, much like when I came out here from Boston in 1981 as a young kid, I tried to get on the job back there, and they laid off 25% of the police department in Boston. So I wrote letters around the country, and LAPD at the time was hiring, had a good reputation. I never thought I would have a shot, because back there, it's all based on who you know, whether you get a job like that. And but I gave it my best shot, and it worked out. And likewise with this role, I had never run for student council, never mind for the largest county in America. And so it was intimidating that I would have to, as a cop, go out there and ask people for money, which is very uncomfortable to do. And to be able to put together then a campaign that would be successful. There were 7 of us in the race initially, ultimately 2 of us, and then ultimately it worked out and I got the job. But then coming onto the job and looking at where we were, my goals were really threefold in the macro sense. And that was, first of all, to restore the shine to the badge, for the people who work in the organization once again to be proud of what that badge represents and the sacrifice that had been expended to be able to make it what it was previously. Second, to be able to restore in the eyes of others in the policing profession across America the reputation of the LA County Sheriff's Department. And then third, and most important, was to restore public trust in the people we're privileged to be able to provide public safety services for across the county, 10+ million people. And I look back now on the challenges that we've had, the issues in the jail, and from day one, I made it very clear as to what our expectations would be, what we would no longer tolerate, and which way we were going. And we have been consistent with that, criticized by some for the discipline that we put in place, but what we do is important. And when you or I or anyone calls 911, we expect the response to be positive, to be quick, and when the deputy gets there, that they be 3 things primarily: competent to do the job as well as it can be done anywhere, that they have the right character when they get there, and that's something that we work very hard to hire people with that character. And then third, compassion. We're a people business. People don't call us to tell us they're having a great day. They call us often on the worst day of their life, when their world is upside down. So it's critical that we have the empathy for what they're going through to try and make the worst day of their life just a little bit more manageable. So we try and instill that in the academy classes, and then every chance we get to talk to our folks throughout the organization to be able to reiterate the importance of that. When I look at our jail population, On any given day, we have 17,000 people in custody. 17,000 is a lot of people. If you were to look at the second and third largest jail systems in America, it would be New York, Rikers Island, and Cook County in Chicago. And if you were to add their inmate populations together, they have about what we have on any given day. So there is no direct comparison for what we do on a daily basis. The work that our folks do is incredible. I would invite you, if you want, to take a look inside our jail facilities. We have come so far in 4 years that I'm very, very proud of the work that's being done. In fact, a monitoring team who works for a federal judge overseeing what we do in the jails said recently that they have seen a positive sea change in the last 4 years, that they didn't anticipate they would see anything like this as quickly as it has all come together. And that's not me doing that, that's our folks out there who are in a tough environment every single day. It was mentioned earlier, AB 109, 47, and 57. What they have done in the jail facilities is to create a different type of inmate. So we have inmates now where previously somebody would be either pre-trial or sentenced for up to a year. Today we have people who still do a pre-trial and others who are sentenced to 5 years or more. I have about 500 people who fit that criteria. One guy for 42 years. So in essence, we have become much more of a state prison inmate population than a county jail population. The displacement that that has caused is those people who were previously in county jail are now back on our streets. And with 47 and 57, not held accountable to the same standards they were previously. And so a tougher environment for our folks to work in. The inmates are more violent. The inmates are also more medically fragile. And so that is a combination that is more complex for our folks to be able to provide services to. But then on top of that, in the past couple of years, we have seen a tremendous increase in the number of people in our custody who are seriously mentally ill. Right now, out of the 17,000, 31% are seriously mentally ill, and many others are mentally ill to somewhat of a lesser degree. So that is a very challenging population to deal with. And you look at what we're able to provide, we work very closely with the Department of Mental Health, and I would hold up what we're doing here against what's being done anywhere else in the country, and to be able to do it on the scale that we're doing it, I think is a tribute to our folks who are doing it, and part of the whole county family, and for many others who weigh in on that as well, particularly on the medical side of the house. So we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but every chance I get to advocate for community-based mental health care and support, I try and do that, because the county jail is, by default, the largest mental health institution in America, if not the world, and it shouldn't be one at all. And so we have a lot of work to do as a county, as a society, to be able to change that. But as you know, with Measure H and Measure HHH, in the city and the county, there is money now going to be available that wasn't previously available. But the challenge we face is it's still an issue of nobody wants a facility in their backyard. And so we're going to have to move forward and try and have honest conversations throughout our communities as to how do we achieve what we need to do. And we all understand the pushback on that issue, but these facilities have to be somewhere. And again, that's a challenge that we'll all deal with together. We created crisis intervention teams to be able to deal with those on the street who are mentally ill, as well as MET teams. Excuse me. And thank you to the supervisor and her partners for allocating additional resources to expand our MET team program. When we roll on a person in mental health crisis, if we roll deputies out there, their options are somewhat limited to what they have. When we roll a MET team out there, which is a deputy paired up with a mental health clinician, 95+% of the time that individual does not go to jail, they get treatment, which is ideal. And we want to be able to expand on something that works exceptionally well and be able to replicate that throughout the county at a much greater rate than we have now. It's something that is being looked at from across the county as a model for what can be done elsewhere. When you think about what we ask of a young person when they come on the job, we get people who generally are in their early 20s. They come in with whatever life experience they have at that point. We put them through, I think, the best 6 months training that we can give them. But then they get out. In our case, they do some time in the county jail, and then they're on the street. And much like our partners in the, on the policing agency side of the house, when they're in that car, we have trained people in society that when your world is upside down, call 911. If It doesn't matter what it is, we'll roll. Any time of the day or night. We don't ask who the person is, how much they make a year, what they look like, or any of that stuff. Our folks just roll and do the very best job they can. But when you think about what information they have, when they get out there, the radio call may be a screaming man or a screaming woman, and nothing else. Maybe a cross streets or maybe an address, and they get there then. And sometimes when they roll up in that car, people are running around, there's shots being fired, people are bleeding, people are screaming, there's people down, there's people running around who are armed. You don't know if they're the suspects or they're just homeowners trying to protect something. So you have a lot to process in a very short period of time with very little information. When you compare that with any other field, you think about doctors, lawyers, nurses, architects. If they have something important, they get a second opinion, they may do a focus group, they may bring in a consultant. Our folks don't have time to do any of that stuff, and they're going to be held responsible for what they do for the rest of their life. And they may have a second or a split second to make a decision that they will, their family will, the department and society will live with for many, many years to come. So we ask an awful lot of our people, but they go out there and they do it each and every day and each and every night. And where we see across the country accounts of depolicing, where the cops don't engage, they answer their radio calls and only that, and they don't do any more than they have to. We don't see that here. Our folks are out there and they're working hard and they're putting themselves in harm's way every day and every night. In fact, in Supervisor's Police District in East LA station area, 2 weeks ago we had 3 deputies shot within 6 days of each other. And so it can happen anywhere. Pomona recently went through a tremendous tragedy, and you know, when you think that things are going well, our world can go upside down, which is all of our world, very quickly. And then responding together and being able to make the best we can out of tragic circumstances is really what judges our ability to do the job as well as it can be done. Human trafficking was touched on. That's something that we saw a need. When I came here from Long Beach, we had set up a unit in Long Beach that initially there was pushback. Hey, we're arresting people for prostitution, mostly young girls. Well, let's look at that closer. And the Vice unit initially pushed back on that. And when we looked at these kids, and the average age for a kid to get involved in sex trafficking in California is between 12 and 14. These are kids. And we started looking at them physically, and what we found was that many of them, on their face, their back, their chest, their neck, they had tattoos of their pimp's name. Clearly, they were being trafficked. Clearly, they were being claimed as property by the pimp. So we changed it, and we stopped arresting them, and instead, we treated them as victims of human trafficking. And we got them into counseling, we got them psychological help, we got them back into school, and we put them in a track that would bring them to a different place, a successful place, as opposed to where they were going. So when I got into the sheriff's department, I looked to see, okay, well, what are we doing? And we weren't doing anything. So we stood up a unit, and we are extremely lean in our department. So to take bodies from one place and put them somewhere else is a big, big decision. So we set up a unit that would be 35 detectives with supervision and management as well as professional support staff. And then we co-located them with our community partner, the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking, the Probation Department, the Department of Children and Family Services, the FBI, and on the prosecutor side, other agencies as well, Pomona and many others as well, great partners. But also we have embedded with us prosecutors from the DA's office and the U.S. Attorney's office. So we can take a case from inception through prosecution, and all of the people who can weigh in and make it successful are right there in that venue. And so we're very fortunate to be able to have done that, but we have become a national model for what can be done collaboratively, working together to get tremendous outcomes. Harvard University recently wrote us up to be able to showcase that. And the Department of Justice routinely sends people out to look at our operation. So give you a report card on what they've been able to do. Since we stood them up in November of 2015, we have rescued just under 300 victims, and we have arrested over 1,400 suspects for pimping, pandering, gun charges, drug charges, and many other charges. And so we're holding people accountable for what they're doing, and we use a 3-pronged approach. Number 1, rescue the kid, the victim, get them out of the life, get them the help they need to get on the right path. 2, go after the pimp and the trafficker with everything we've got and be able to show that off to the rest of the world to be able to say that if you're thinking about doing this, don't do it in LA County, because it is not risk-free. And then third, go after the part that most other people don't deal with, which is the demand side, the so-called Johns. These Johns are predators, they're pedophiles, they're on the web looking for an 11-year-old girl to violate. These people need to be held accountable for what they're doing, and we need to be able to also to talk about it so that others who are looking to prey on a young kid realize that it's not without risk in doing that. And I say that only because up until relatively recently, it was fairly without risk. A young pimp, and most of our pimps are young gang members, they enter into this, and you wonder, how does somebody get to a place where they want to exploit someone else and enslave them, and in some cases torture them? And you think about the music that many of our kids are listening to that celebrates the gang lifestyle, that celebrates the pimp lifestyle. Get yourself a stable of 5 and you'll have guns and drugs and money and cars and girls and all this stuff, and they hear it over and over again, and they have no counterbalance in their life, no mentor, no adult, figure to be able to tell them that that's not the right thing to do, and they get into it. And it was relatively risk-free because it was all done over the internet and on cell phones. And so we have now been setting up on a nightly basis stings, so that when somebody gets in, is out looking to do this kind of stuff, the person they may be talking to may be a deputy sheriff. And the hotel room or the area that they go to meet them, they may meet more than they expected. And that happens pretty much every night. And so I'm very proud, and I talk at length about them, maybe too much, but I want to be able to let you know what we're doing, that put it on your radar, that most people think of sex trafficking, they think of something happening half a world away. And this is right here in our own backyards. So we try and educate the public that every crime needs a place in order for it to occur. And in this case, the place may be an abandoned house next door, a hotel, a motel, or the RV parked at the end of the street. And if you see men coming and going all hours of the day and night, staying a short time, they're either buying sex or they're buying drugs. In either case, call us and let us know. We'll go out and check it out. If nothing's going on, no harm. And if there is something going on, the life is saved maybe of a 12-year-old girl. And so there's a lot at stake in what we're doing, and we can't do it alone. We have to be able to do it with the community. On our recruitment front, again, very difficult. The last 10 years have been tough in this profession in trying to get people engaged. We still have the bar held very high. So for every 100 people who apply, 4 make it to the academy, 3 make it through the academy. So it's difficult where we've increased the number of people, and again, thanks to the board for the support. We've increased the number of people who work our recruitment unit. We're sending them all over the country to be able to try and hit military bases, universities, community colleges, and other places to be able to find the 3% that will make it through the academy. Hopefully get a better return on investment on that by targeting the places where we get the better outcomes. And so we move forward in that regard, but it has been difficult, but I again take a step back and I realize that I look at my own career, I wouldn't trade a minute of it for anything. And I've learned more from the hard times than I did from the good times. So for a young person looking for a career, for the right person, where the fit is right, there is no better career. That every day you get to go to work and meet new people, you get to be able to have different types of experiences than you might in any other job. But at the end of the day, you can look back and say, you know what, I was able to help someone today. I was able to make the worst day of someone's life maybe just a little bit more manageable. And you get something out of that pay and benefits, as good as they are, you really can't quantify that. So I feel like looking back on 4 years, the indicators of a good police department, a good sheriff's department, morale, as well, some will knock it. The unions will always want to make that an issue. Our arrests are up, our crime is down, our risk management factors, the amount of people suing us is trending in the right direction. Deputy-involved shootings are down, so on and on I could go on, but we're in a good place, and I want to be able to build in the next 4 years on the foundation that we have set up today. My first 4 years were focused internally to fix a department that was in crisis. My next 4 years I want to expand on that and be able to reach out to our communities across the county and to bring more community members in to help be part of that public safety solution. So I'm excited about what the future holds. I'm thankful to all of you for your support and being able to get there, and look forward to working with all of you in the months and years ahead. Let me open it up, if I could, any questions, thoughts, suggestions you have.